Once you'd accepted the task of writing this book, or the challenge of writing this book, how did you decide what aspects of language you were going to open up for young readers?
This is the most difficult question of all. I have worked on the language of young teenagers before. Some 20 or so years ago, I collaborated with a teacher on writing a series of information books for children of age 10, 11, 12. So I knew the language levels that were likely to make a book accessible to kids. Also, having talked to school children quite a lot over the years, I knew the sorts of subjects that interest them. You only have to look at an advanced level syllabus, for example, in English language, and you see the topics that teachers and examiners feel are motivating and at the right level for kids, like children's language acquisition and things of that kind. So I know all of that. And so I thought it would be dead easy to assimilate all of that and to write a rhetoric which would take kids through all the different aspects of language, presented at the right linguistic level, no problem. Well, I did the draft, and then I thought I'd better just check this out. So I got a 12-year-old to read my draft, and this was a most salutary experience, because I suddenly realized that my mindset was quite a long way away from the mindset of a modern 12-year-old, 13-year-old, that sort of area. And I'll give you some examples. When I was writing the section on pseudonyms, the names that people adopt other than their own real name, and I thought I'll put in my favorite examples of pseudonyms, like John Wayne, you see, who is, it's not his real name, Michael Caine, people like this. When I approached the 12-year-old, I said, do underline anything you don't understand or anything that you find difficult or concepts that aren't familiar to you. She underlines John Wayne. And I couldn't believe it. I said to her, do you not know who John Wayne is? She says, no. You've never seen Stagecoach? No. What's this all about? And I suddenly realized that there is a big difference. Let alone more sophisticated things like maybe a reference to the Bible, some story in the Bible or anything of that kind, which some kids would know, but many kids would not. Here was who I thought was an icon that everybody would understand. And no, I had to replace that with more modern pseudonyms like David Tennant and Madonna and so on. So that was the shock, really, the difference in the kind of encyclopedic worldview that I was taking for granted. I was writing the book, I think, at the right level in language and at the right level in terms of topics in language. But when it came to the examples, I realized that there was something I had to learn.
Towards the end of the book, you look to the future and speculate on some of the changes that the readers of this book will see in the course of their lifetimes and indeed in the next 10 years. And one of the areas you pick out is communication with machines talking to us and us talking to machines.
This is a subject that it's so difficult to predict the future of because the technology is evolving so rapidly. I mean, we're recording this in the middle of a month, February, beginning of a month, where there's been an announcement from Google about having a phone which will automatically translate between you and me. If you were speaking French to me and I was speaking English to you, then we'd understand each other we'd go through a piece of software and we'd hear each other in the other language, a sort of Babel fish of A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, it's a couple of years off, and there is some skepticism about what sort of quality it's going to be. Myself, I'm very, very surprised if it's going to be efficient, but you never know. And this is the sort of thing that's happening. I mean, who would predict? Who can possibly predict what's going to happen next as far as technology is concerned? Even the whole internet thing is really only 20 years old. And who would have predicted 11 years ago Google, or mobile or text messaging? Twitter is only 2006. Facebook is 2004 or whatever it is. That it's all so recent, and each one of these new technologies is offering extraordinarily new perspectives for communication. So I think it is important that everybody, and the kids in particular that are using this book, will develop a sense of the movement of language, of how language evolves, and particularly these days in relation to technology, and to see what the problems are. And the problems are obvious, that you get a piece of equipment like a voice-activated washing machine or answering phone or sat-nav, and will it understand you? And the answer is sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So why not? And the answer is because sometimes it can't cope with your regional accent, or it can't cope because you're speaking too fast. And you suddenly begin to realize the strengths and the weaknesses of talking to machines. We're a long way off the scenario of 2001 and Hal the computer talking to Dave about how things are. That's a long way. A lot of people think that that's around the corner, but it isn't. It is a long way away. But so getting a sense of how far we are along that road towards conversations with robots is, I think, an important aspect of this whole business.
David Crystal. His little book of language is published in hardback at the end of this month. You'll find full details about the book at blackwell.co.uk. Until next time, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.